The Doctor Is In is a co-production of Ave Maria Radio and EWTN Radio and carried across the EWTN Global Catholic Radio Network.
You want some bad news, Michael?
No.
What are you asking me?
You're the guru of the gray matter. I figured if anybody had it, you'd have the answer.
I can't give you any direction.
I think I'm going to have to change this channel. I'm sorry.
You're completely wrong.
I refuse to be wrong on 2 calls in a row.
Tell me I'm spot on or tell me I'm crazy as all get out.
I have no idea.
I have a 6-month-old, so we'll be raising him according to Dr. Ray.
Talk about being a winner.
So, you want my question?
You ain't making any sense.
You're absolutely right. I just needed confirmation.
So what are you going to do about it, Dawn?
I'm calling you.
Now, from the studios of Living Bread Radio Network in Canton, Ohio, the hometown of Mother Angelica, here's Dr. Ray.
Not exactly true. Thank you. We are not in the home studios of Living Bread Radio. We are in the bowels of the cruise ship, Oasis of the Seas, through the magic of modern technology and our intrepid engineer, Steve Clark, sitting right next to me. Say hello, Steve. Let him know you're here.
Hello, I'm here.
Okay, thank you. He's here in case anything goes wrong. And I asked him that. I said, Steve, could you handle just about anything that would go wrong here on the show? He goes, yeah, but the biggest problem we have with the show, I can't do anything about it. I was like, I'm worried. I said, what's that? He goes, you. Okay, well, we'll see what we can do about this. Now, we're going to handle this a couple of ways. First of all, we didn't think we could take questions because there could be some complications. Steve informs me, and Andrew Kruchek, my producer man over there in Ave, informs me we could take questions. Take questions via the phone. And then I have questions in front of me from some of you folks, and I understand I am competing with Sister. So the show on Tuesday, this room was packed. And so you pay. Parties a lot, and the topic of pseudosciensis comes up all the time, and I know everybody else knows what it is, but I feel ignorant. You know, things like that. You probably all know what pseudosciensis is, so that's not a problem. It's false pregnancy, by the way. Somebody pretending they're pregnant when they're not. So if you have a generic question, something like, let's say if I had more faith, would I be less anxious? If I had more faith, would I be less depressed? How can God love a sinner like me? I have a hard time loving a sinner like me. Or this piece of nonsense. You have to love yourself or you can't love anybody else. That's not necessarily so. Sure would help if you had a decent comfort in your own self-view. So the number here to get onto the program, as I'd like to lay it out, is 877-573-7825. 877-57-equal. Here's a question that came in. Dr. A, I've heard many experts say feelings are neither right nor wrong. They just are. Do you have any feelings about that? Yeah, I do. I feel it's a piece of nonsense. There was a very high-profile sitcom in the 90s. The setting was this. It was a Catholic school's fundraiser. The woman in charge, one of the characters on the TV show, built this box that was supposed to be a jewelry box. But it was terrible. When it was put up for auction, it just immediately started falling apart. Her husband pulled the drawer out, and it fell apart. And he started making jokes, and they were very clever jokes. Crowd was roaring and laughing. She gets back home, and she said, I was completely humiliated by what you did. He said, it was all in fun. We were having fun. I didn't mean anything by it. She said, I just felt betrayed. I felt terrible. And he said, well, your feelings are wrong. And she said, you can't say that. You can't say my feelings are wrong. My feelings are mine. I guess the writers of that program obviously had some Psych 101 courses, and they were told, that's right, feelings just are feelings. I know you've heard this. Feelings are neither right or wrong, it's what you do with them. How about if I went to my wife and I said, honey, I want you to know that I have a lot of, I guess lustful feelings towards other women. But I'm not going to do anything about it. It's just feelings. So, they're neither right nor wrong. Do you think she'd feel good about that? What if she said, well, Ray, there's a lot of times that I feel a tremendous amount of resentment towards you. The fact that you look at these other women. But you just have to accept that, Ray, because feelings are neither right nor wrong. Here's one of the problems with this whole feelings are neither right nor wrong thing. First of all, feelings can cause you to do a lot of wrong things. When you're angry, is that when you most likely say the stuff you regret? The stuff that's most hurtful? So, yeah, you can say, well, the angry feeling is neutral, as long as I don't do anything with it. Yeah, what the problem with that is, you're more likely to do something with it. So it's a near occasion of sin. So maybe we could say certain feelings can be a near occasion of sin. Or what about this? A feeling can be based upon a misperception. I come home and my wife says, my mother's coming over to watch the kids. And I say, well, why? She said, well, I got stuff I got to do tonight, and you're going to be the only one here, Ray, with the kids. So, I can handle the kids. They need fed. When do they need fed? Okay. How often do I have to change the baby's diaper? Because the diaper says good up to 14 pounds, so I probably can go a while. I'm feeling like she's making a comment on my inadequacy as a father. And I'm getting myself pretty upset. So I chase her upstairs, and I tell her, that really hurt. I felt very hurt. And she says, do you know why I asked my mother over? Yeah, because you didn't think I could handle it. No. I asked her over because you said you were falling behind on writing your book. And I wanted you to have some free hours to write the book, not have to watch the kids tonight, so my mom would watch them. My feeling was wrong because it was based on a misperception. Let me give you another example. You're at a three-sided bus stop. 40 degrees, which makes the worst rain in the world. It's cold. It's a terrible rain. People are huddled inside there trying to crush together to get out of the wind that's blowing the rain straight into the bus stop. Bodies are all just packed together. You're toward the back. You feel something stabbing your leg right down by your heel. Feels like the point of an umbrella. And you're thinking to yourself, okay, who's doing this? What is going on here? Some jamoke can't keep their umbrella to themselves. Don't they feel my leg? You get yourself pretty upset. You're getting angry. So you decide I've had enough. I'm turning around. I'm going to let this person have it. Or at the very least, I'm going to glare at them. So you whip around. It is an elderly woman who is blind. And this is her cane, and she's trying to keep herself balanced in this crush of bodies. What happens to your anger? Did you think to yourself, you're lucky you're blind, I'll tell you that right now, because I don't have to put up with this. Your anger immediately disappears, replaced by sheepishness, maybe a little tinge of guilt, because you jumped to the wrong conclusion. Now, if somebody would have said to you right at that time, you're angry, and that's okay, because feelings neither right nor wrong. They just are. You're angry. Yeah, but my feeling was based upon a wrong perception. Feelings so often are driven by perceptions, and the perception can be right or wrong, and the feeling following it could be incorrect. So, what do I think about this? Feelings are neither right nor wrong. I don't personally think it jives too much with Christianity, although I have heard it in Christian circles a lot. Feelings are feelings. You have to accept them as long as you don't run with them. Yeah, but the problem with that is we do run with them. And the problem with it is much of the time they're not based on anything. They're based on a wrong thinking. And the wrong thinking. Now, I'm looking out at this group right here. Okay. Now, when we first taped this show on Tuesday here, this room was packed. Right now, it's a mere fraction of it. I could interpret that as, well, I'm a pretty popular guy, aren't I? Wow, look at this. I got about this. We got 900 people on this boat, and I got about 20 of them. Ha! Well, what's that say about me? My perception. So I tell my wife later, boy, that was a downer. Boy, I just felt so bad. Well, of course, it just so happens we're at port. And pretty much well over half the people, if not more, are not on this boat. And Sister's talking, and she's a sweetheart and a half. And she's a main speaker. And many of the people have already taken in the show Tuesday. So my interpretation could be right. People could think, yeah, the guy's kind of a slug. He's boring. Don't really want to spend an hour of my cruise listening to that. Could be. Why are you so many nodding? Please don't nod like that. But in fact, there's other components here that could explain the difference. But if I cling to the first one, which is, whoa, man, Steve, I'll tell you what, I must be a real dud. But he's looking at me like, take it as you will, Ray. Take it as you will. Then I'd feel pretty bad leaving here. But if I look at it like, well, there could be other explanations, then that feeling doesn't need to be with me. So I really have a hard time with that. Feelings are neither right nor wrong. I got it in grad school. I minored in counseling, majored in clinical psychology, had a minor in counseling, and counseling is big on that. Just their feelings, and nobody can question your feelings. I'll let you go here for a second, but I'll get a lot of calls on the radio, and people will say, especially spouses, my spouse really hurts me by the things he or she says. I am so hurt. And I'll say, you do understand that it's not automatic. Nobody can hurt you with what they say. You have to accept being hurt. Your only concern is, are they right or wrong? If in all of your objective assessment of yourself, you think they're wrong, you think these critiques that you're getting, these scolds, these remarks, these snarks are not fair, then the degree that you're hurt by them is how much you decide to absorb them. If you come up to me, Jana, after this and you say, Ray, that was one misspent hour on this cruise that I will never get back. I can't believe that I went down into that ship and listened to you ramble on for an hour. I could be very hurt, Jenna, or I could say, well, that's her opinion. She's welcome to her opinion, and it bothers me for about the next minute and a half. Or I could be miserable. I could say, oh my gosh, I can't believe I never thought I affected people that way. And then I dwell on it for the next 4 hours. It's up to me. Watch out for those feelings. Steve, are you coming back with me? Oh man, I'm way past time here. 877-573-7825 is the number if you would like to call in and get onto the program. I didn't give it out in the first segment. This is Dr. Ray.
Do you own popular index mutual funds or ETFs? If so, you're automatically own shares of companies that conflict with your moral beliefs. Ave Maria mutual funds are managed to conform to pro-life and pro-family values. Long-term investors can invest in the no-load Ave Maria mutual funds. The experienced professional portfolio managers make decisions based on investment fundamentals and pro-life values. You can learn more about Ave Maria Mutual Funds today at 866 Ave Maria or visit AveMariaFunds.com. The Heart of the Interior Life with Elizabeth Jingle.
In him was life, and that life was the light of all mankind. The light shines in the darkness, and the darkness has not overcome it. The interior life is the life of our soul. It is our inner world. It is the very depths of our hearts. Entering within our hearts, which isn't always an easy task, is necessary for the spiritual work of discernment. St. Ignatius of Loyola gives us unparalleled instruction for identifying, understanding, and responding to the various movements of the human heart that we experience on a daily basis. St. Ignatius's 14 Rules for the Discernment of Spirits gives us practical tools that will set our hearts free to respond with greater attentiveness to the Holy Spirit and to reject what is not from Him. The Holy Spirit speaks to our hearts in a personal and loving way. His light is His love. Let us ask for the intercession of St. Ignatius of Loyola to bring new light for our interior lives.
For more information, visit AveMariaRadio.net.
Steve Ray here. Next year's a Jubilee year, and we're going to celebrate it in Rome. But not only Rome. This is our Saints and Shrines of Italy pilgrimage, and joining us is our good friend Teresa Tamio.
Yes, Steve, fantastical. Walking through the holy doors, immersing ourselves in the deeply Catholic culture of Italy. I'll be joining you and Janet in Florence and Assisi.
Join us this May for the Jubilee year from Milan to Florence and much more, all the way to Rome.
Find the Ave Maria Radio travel tab at AveMariaRadio.net.
I am sure that some of you are familiar with the movie The Incredible Shrinking Man. Well, you are tuned into The Incredible Manly Shrink. Dr. Ray Guarendi, the only host in all of Catholic radio who can take days off your purgatory, because I can be so irritating to listen to. And the longer you listen and the more upset you are, it's linear. More days off purgatory. Okay, we got some questions, but a couple things I want to say. Good Lord permitting, we will be taping the last 4 episodes of Season 14, Living Right with Dr. Ray, the TV show on EWTN, down at Ave Maria University on the 28th and 29th of this month, January. If you go to Eventbrite, BRITE.com, it'll take you right to the sign-up page. We have 4 shows, 2 each night. We have one at 5:30 and 7:15 both nights. We will have Tom Monahan there as a guest. We will have the president of the university there as a guest. We will have other guests. If you would like to be part of the live audience, and the live audience makes the show, I checked with one of our leading publicists today, and the numbers are already pleasantly high. So that's wonderful. This early, 3 weeks before the show, most people don't commit to anything 3 weeks before. I didn't even commit to my marriage 3 weeks before. So given that, if you'd like to be part of the show, you go there. You can sign up for 1, 2, 3, 4 shows. The audience makes the show, no question. You bring the kids and anything else you want to bring, dogs, goldfish, whatever. Just fill up the seats. Before I go to the calls, I got to take this, because this sadly taps into something that's happening. The word used is epidemic. I've used it before. This person who gave me this question used it also. And that is people of faith who tried to raise their kids in the faith, however imperfectly they were. And I always tell parents, your fault in raising kids who have turned away from the faith, the one thing you did, you were human. That's your problem. You were human. With all of your deficiencies and your foibles and everything else. So, among faith-filled people, I'm noticing a phenomenon. I had a friend call me. Christian man, good man. His wife died when his kids were 4, 3, and 1. He remarried eventually. There was some adjustment problems with stepmom over the years. But she raised those kids. He called me a couple, 3 years ago. Apparently, all three of the kids got together and decided they were going to cut off mom and dad. All three of them. Two of them at the behest of a counselor. I'm seeing more and more of this. I'm seeing not only the kids write off the parents, but a sad percentage of the time it's at the recommendation of a therapist. So this question here says, how do you deal with being cut off from your adult child? They have cut off all of the family, not just mom and dad. Now, my guess would be the people they cut off are probably still in relation with mom and dad and probably still think a bit like the way they were raised, religiously, politically, morally, and so therefore, well, I'm not going to have anything to do with you people either. But there's an interesting twist here. I'll admit, I haven't seen this one too often. They're both psychologists. Now, psychology prides itself on our open-mindedness, our tolerance, our acceptance of diverse viewpoints, right? Well, I've found all too often it is those of us who most loudly proclaim tolerance who are the most intolerant. How do you deal with it? There's a part of me, I'm going to tell you personally how I deal with it. I'm not saying this is your case. There's a part of me that if I look back on my parenthood and I say I did what I did as a parent, what I knew at the time, how best I tried to do it, there's no way I tried to mess up my kids. There is a part of me, this is my personality, that thinks, you little brat. You little brat. After your mom and I raised you as best we could, you decided we didn't do it according to your standards and the way you now think we should have done it, and you're writing us off? Well, okay. I will let you go your way. Yes, I may make efforts to contact you, but if those efforts are rebuffed, I'm not going to keep doing it. I'll just wait. My last effort might be, I am here. I love you. Let me know if ever you want to reconnect. And at that point, I am not going to dwell on this. I am not going to say to myself, that's my son, that's my daughter, I can't believe this, I'm missing my grandchild. I would be a hostage. I'd be a hostage to their conduct. My mood, my feelings, would depend upon their conduct. I can't have that. I can't put my contentedness in somebody's hands, even if it is my son. I had a daughter once I didn't hear from for 2 years. I don't know why. She's well back into our lives and telling us how much she loves us. I don't know what happened those 2 years. But during that time, I thought, well, okay, she wants to come back, she can come back. We're here. But I was not going to lose any more sleep over this. So for me, that's how I dealt with it. I'm not going to grovel. I'm not going to be miserable. I'm not going to tie my peace to the decisions my adult children make. Andrew, do I have time to take Jesus? No time? What do I got, about a minute left here before the hard break? Okay, well, get me up on another couple of the calls. See, normally where we're at in the studio, we have a computer, and I can see who's there and what the calls are and why. And we usually take potty training calls on lines number 1 or number 2, you know. Gambling calls on lines number 7 or lines number 11, you know. Obsessive compulsive calls on line number 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20. Okay. Insecurity calls, sometimes 2, sometimes 3, not really sure and what we're going to do about that. So 877-573-7825. That is my countdown, Steve, according to my break right there. There it is. You're right on. Okay. Normally, you ever notice how most hosts say, don't go away, I'll be right back? And I always think to myself, well, you telling them not to go away, they're not going to go away. What if they have to go to the bathroom? Boy, I really have to go bad, but the guy said don't go away. Or I'll be right back. Well, I thought he was. Where's he going to go? See those people leaving? I'm taking it personally.
Catholic Connection with Teresa Tomeo.
The saints are very, very aware of us. Revelation 5 talks about the bowls of incense or the prayers of the saints. We ask them for their intercession, and they love praying for us. St. Therese said, I'm going to spend my time in heaven doing good on earth. And the reason people are walking through this life of sainthood, they start as venerable, then move to blessed, and then move, God willing, to canonization, is because they're interceding. In other words, they're taking requests to Jesus on our behalf. The prayers of intercession to the saints result in miracles, confirmed miracles that are tested exhaustively. So the church is built on solid ground when it comes to the intercession of the saints.
Catholic Connections, Teresa Tomeo. Weekdays, 9 a.m. Eastern on EWTN Radio.
Father Benedict Rochelle.
I must tell you that from what I observe from very young people, all of these blasphemers, all of these mockers are in for a tough time. Because the devil bites his own tail. And I find among young people a growing reverence and longing for God. I find a decline in the cynicism and skepticism around. Because it had to destroy itself. No one can live on being an enemy of God. It's too crazy. It's too absurd. It's too dark. It's too bleak. God is beautiful. God is holy. Why in the world mock God?
The people you know and trust are on EWTN.
Hey, remember when we did the program here on Tuesday and this room was pretty full?
Extremely full.
Yeah, and you had everybody clap?
Yes.
You're not having them clap now. It's kind of embarrassing, ain't it?
No, well, there's a reason why I'm not having everybody clap.
Let me do it. My wife's not even clapping.
Well, she still is here.
Welcome to the Doctor Is In. I'm Dr. Ray Guarendi. All right. Let's go to Jesus. His wife doesn't express herself all that completely. Hi, Jesus. How are you?
I'm doing good. How are you?
Okay, sir. What doesn't she express herself about?
Oh, just about a lot of little things that she expects that I myself or my children can read it, and then she gets upset, and I say, well, you just got to speak. That's what language is for, and I don't know.
Oh, that makes her feel good, don't it?
And well, on your before the break, you were relating something like insecure. She's very insecure about just about anything. So then she just gets upset about things.
So how many years you been married, Jesus?
We've been together for 23 and married for we got married in 2008.
All right. 16, 17. So her attitude is, you should know by now. I shouldn't have to tell you these things.
Well, it's kind of like progressing. It wasn't like that. She was more mature, more secure when she was younger. Now she's 44. And I don't know what's going on. So that's what I figure out. But it's called Dr. Ray. I'll listen to you whenever I have a chance. I'm on the road today, and a lot of times I'm on the road. But anytime I can, I like to listen to your show.
First thing you might want to do is find out exactly, if you can, either by paying attention or asking her if she'll tell you, what kind of stuff she keeps to herself and why. Okay. She may think that you and the kids should pick up on what she's thinking or feeling, and you're not doing it, and that means you're not paying attention, and that means you don't care enough to pay attention. If she's insecure, that's possibly the way she's going to look at it. So find out what it is.
Okay.
Does she ever use the word thoughtless? Has she ever called you thoughtless?
No, she just gets upset for a day, and then I say, what did I do? And then she says, well, remember when I asked you when you was going to open the jar of jelly that we bought at the church sale? And and I said, well, I don't know, sometime when we run out of the other stuff. And she says, well, I was hoping that I can open it that day. I said, well, why didn't you say so?
She's taking it personal. In other words, the fact that you didn't do it means you don't care what she wants, what she thinks, what she would like. Therefore, it's not the fact that you just thought you forgot about it. No, that's not it. She takes it personal. Probably I'd say to her, honey, you take anything that I do that you don't necessarily understand or agree with personal, as if I don't care what you'd like or what you'd want. That's not true. And if you keep doing that, you're going to keep getting upset. Now, if you say that, Jesus, your wife is not going to say, whoa, I didn't realize I did that. Boy, Jesus, thanks for pointing that out to me. She's not going to say that. But at least you threw down a seed that you're not trying to make her feel easy to neglect. That her opinions and feelings and thoughts don't matter. The other thing is this. She tells you a day later. Now, you're getting a read on what it is that upsets her. Put it in a bank. Put it in your head. Say, okay, she's most likely to get upset when I don't do this, or when I forget this, or when I put this off, or when I say it this way. All right, I got that. Okay, so now that accounts for 28% of the time she gets upset. That's the big one. Okay, I got that now. And tell her, say, you know what I realize? You get upset at me when I, and then blank, 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 blank.
Right.
See what she says. But at least you got it in your head that I'm starting to get a good read on my wife here. This is the kind of stuff that makes her go into this cold retreat that she does, and then about a day or two later, she comes out with it. But do you remember when we were driving, and I told you to turn left, and you looked at me like I was some kind of dummy? And I turned out it was my way was the right way, but you always do that to me. You always make me feel foolish. Now, you can say to your wife, I'm sorry. I had no way to mean that. There was nothing in me that meant that. All I can say is if she's insecure, Jesus, she's going to misinterpret an awful lot of what you say and what you do. And maybe later, if you keep telling her that was not my intent at all, hopefully after you do that 1,694 times, she may start to think, well, maybe it wasn't his intent all the time to make me feel bad. It's best I can give you right now without a therapy session. Jesus, thank you, my friend.
Can I have a quick question related to my daughter?
Okay, buy one, get one free. Go ahead.
Okay, so my daughter, she talked to my wife last week that she's having doubts about our religion. We're Catholics, and she's exploring the Bible more. And my wife, she was very sad about it. And then I talked to my daughter, and I said, you got to get the facts. Don't just jump at the conclusion. The Bible is very, difficult to interpret by yourself. That's why there's so many religions, because everybody's right. And I said, go a little bit deeper, I said. There's some things that I don't agree completely on how we practice our religion, especially we come from Mexico. So there's certain things that they do that they're not, can do it. Anyway, so I talked to my daughter. Everything went smooth the way we talked. And then I talked to my wife about it. And then my wife, she gets upset. She's like, oh, now I am the bad guy. So I'm the one that made it worse. I said, no, you just need to talk to your daughter. She's your daughter. But you need to kind of learn a little bit how to talk to her because she's 19.
Yeah, see, there, time out, Jesus. When you start correcting your wife, look out. When you start saying things like, no, you just need to learn how to talk to her, you're basically saying you don't know how to talk to her. And with your wife's sensitivity, there is no way she's going to go, yeah, you're probably right. I don't do this as well as I could. No, she's immediately going to take it like you're criticizing her. Here's what I would suggest with your daughter. How old is she?
19.
All right. You tell her, it's good you have all these questions. I want you to bring them to me. Because if the Catholic Church can't give you good answers to your questions, then she hasn't really thought through these things over the last 2,000 years. So bring all your questions to me, and I think you'll find that the Catholic Church will give you the best answers to your questions and even your doubts. I went through that for 8 years, Jesus. I did a lot of searching, a lot of reading. I think if your daughter has an open mind, she'll find out that the Catholic Church is most logical.
Hello, friends, and welcome to another segment of The Crux of the Matter. I'm Father Wade Menezes. Today I'd like to discuss why it is wrong for a man and woman to live together before marriage. There's an old wise maxim that states, the breaking of the rules before marriage will naturally lead to the breaking of the rules after marriage. It has also been said that fornication before marriage will likely lead to adultery after marriage. But what if the couple is living chastely? What if the couple is not having premarital relations? Let's say they're living together chastely for the sake of cutting down on expenses, for the consolidating of bills, and that they're planning on getting married in the near future. Is it still a good idea for them to live together before marriage without the benefits of the marriage covenant? The answer is simply, no, it is not. And this answer makes good, logical sense. As faithful Catholics, we already know that the sin of fornication, that is, sexual relations before marriage, is displeasing to Almighty God. And if done with full knowledge and deliberate consent, it is a mortal sin. And what about all of the beautiful mystery that the marriage covenant brings with itself? If such mysteries, both the sexual and the non-sexual, are discovered before marriage, then the couple begins their covenantal union with no foundation on which to build its success. The old adage, familiarity breeds contempt, comes to mind here. Lastly, friends, why would someone take the risk of putting himself or herself in the near occasion of sin? Remember, as Catholics, we know that we're called not only to avoid sin directly, but we are also called to avoid what's called the near occasion of sin, those persons, places, or things that can lead us to sin. Living together does just that. To move in together is simply not a wise move at all. And that's the crux of the matter. God bless you, and thank you for joining us.
Canned applause. That's really bad. You got to grovel for canned applause. You know, even my canned applause people aren't clapping all that much. This is Dr. Ray Guarendi. Thanks for joining me here on the cruise ship Oasis of the Seas. Got a chance to have been here for a week. The Good News Marriage Cruise coming to a close here very shortly. This is the longest I've gone doing this program on this cruise without eating. Because typically you eat every about 14 minutes on a cruise. They have people going up and down the hallways giving you food. And, you know, even when you sit in the buffets, they're afraid that you won't get up and go get your food. So they bring you food to the table, and then you go to the buffet. And I know I'm going to be messed up because when I go home, it's like my wife said. She says it takes us about a week to get to the point where we don't just sit in our kitchen waiting for people to bring us coffee. I think I've even forgot how to make coffee. And then my bed. I actually have to make my own bed. What is this? I don't know if I can deal with this kind of stress. Dina from Oregon is calling. Hi, Dina.
Hi.
Thanks for your patience. What's going on with your 14-year-old son?
Okay. So I have 3 boys, and he's my youngest, and I've had some kind of issue, obviously, with all my children. But
Well, wait a minute. Now, you say, obviously, I don't know that. I mean,
Okay, well,
that's kind of like...
not obviously.
Yeah.
I mean, every kid has a challenge,
Oh,
I
okay.
guess, is what I'm saying.
Okay. So
Every
you're
kid
just
has their own
basically
challenge.
saying the normal
Yeah.
bumps and turbulence of raising teenagers. Okay.
Right. So, and with the other two, like, I've always been able to, like, figure out where their thinking process is, and I'm able to, like, figure out how to, like, get through to them, even if it takes a couple years. Logan has gone through this total anger stage, and we kind of got it a little under control. You know, I haven't had any holes in my walls lately.
Oh.
But,
oh.
yeah. Now he's, like, totally isolating himself. He doesn't want to sit down and eat dinner. He tries to either eat outside if it's nice, or he tries to go in his room. I'm like, no, you got to sit down and eat, no electronics. And, like, he never wants to leave his room. He hasn't made friends since 5th grade, really. He says it's not worth it. Or if I try to have a conversation with him, he's like, it's not that deep. I don't want to talk. Leave my room. If I try to, like, sit there and, like, you know, hey, let's play a video game, or hey, like, I try to find ways to interact with him, and he just is completely isolating himself. And I'm like, therapy, I have a hard time. I've been looking for a therapist, but it's really hard to try to pick one because some of them seem kind of not, I don't think they would help. I think they'd make things worse. So I don't know where I should go with this.
I would suspect that if you told Logan, I'm going to get you counseling, he'd look at you like, no way.
Yeah, pretty much.
Okay, and so you're left with the question then, which is, and I usually tell this to parents, if they want me to see their teenage kid, I say, does he want to be here? And they say no, then I said, I don't want to see him.
Yeah.
I'm not going to deal with a hostile patient. That makes no sense.
Right.
All right. So I'm going to somehow try to convince him to not be hostile. I mean, some therapists will do that, and maybe they can succeed, but I saw an interesting survey. Do you know the two groups of patients that are the toughest and least successful in therapy? One, chronically mentally ill. Two, behavior problem adolescents.
Yeah.
And the reason for that, and you can probably confirm this, is Logan sees nothing wrong with what he's doing. It's you people. So, several things. I can't know what's dynamically going on with Logan. I don't know what's happening at school. I don't know if he's with some girl that he's playing with his head. I don't know. Does he have access to social media, internet, all that? Does he?
Yeah, a little bit. And, you know, I try to keep an eye on what he's doing and what he's listening to and everything. And, you know, it's like, so I understand where, like, when he comes with, like, certain, like, political things, and, like, I get that's where he's getting it from school, and some, you know, and then we talk about it, or, you know, he always thinks I'm wrong, but, which is fine, whatever. But it's just,
well,
like,
obviously he's getting information from somewhere that is feeding his rebellion, that mom and dad are clueless, they don't know what they're about, and they're the enemy. And my means of dealing with them is to simply retreat from them, ignore them, and challenge them. So, let's assume there is nothing untoward going on here, and I can't make that obvious claim.
Right.
First of all, I would suggest you do not allow him to retreat to his room endlessly. You may give him a little bit of time, half an hour here, half an hour there, but the idea that I'm going to simply withdraw from the family is not going to happen. It's not permitted.
Okay.
And you cannot not eat at the table.
Right.
And you can you can say to him, Logan, I don't know where all this hostility is coming from, but I got a suspicion that whatever you're listening to, hearing, the internet, does he have a smartphone?
Yeah.
Oh, boy. I knew it. So that's one of your enemies.
Yeah.
So whatever you're hearing and listening to is turning you against your family. So here's what we're going to do. I'm going to want to see a pleasant, cooperative Logan, which means you eat with us, which means you do not retreat to your room. If you're going to do your homework, you're going to do something, you're going to sit at the table. You're going to sit in the living room. That's what I want to see. And if so, if I see that, then I will be a little less reluctant to let you have access to that stuff because it's polluting you. Now, he doesn't agree with that. He's not going to agree with any of that. Right.
Right.
But what you're going to do is you're going to pull the plug on this kind of further and further pulling away from the family. Okay. Where's your husband in all this?
Well, my husband passed away, and his dad is in California.
Okay. So, in fact, Logan is just up against his mom.
Right. Yeah.
All right. Well, that makes it tougher. And my guess would be, you tell me if I'm way off, my guess would be, as a single mom, you're figuring, I can understand the kid's had struggles. There's not a dad in his life, and I'm trying to do both, and I'm wondering, am I messing my kid up? And so you've been kind of tentative and insecure about all this. Am I wrong?
Yeah. No, I definitely have
wrong?
moments like that.
Okay,
No.
I was going to say, I was going to say, am I wrong? You said yes. I said, no, that's not possible.
No.
All
no,
right.
Definitely had moments like that, yeah.
Okay. And I think those moments are coloring your confidence. I think that you are afraid to say, Logan, this is not how we operate our house.
Okay.
Well, you can't make me like being with you. No, I can't. But I know one thing for sure. When you're not with us, you're just going to further and further pull into yourself. So I think that's a factor here. And you got to watch that smartphone, and you may decide to limit it based upon his conduct, because most parents will tell me if there is a smartphone in the picture, it is the number one opponent of what the parents are trying to teach.
Okay.
And Logan is looking at everything you're saying and doing like, you're clueless, Mom. You have no idea. I don't like it. I'm sure that's his attitude.
Yeah, and then when that's kind of how it is, like when he doesn't want to do something like go to church, I'm like, well, we're going. And then that's when like the anger starts. He's like, well, I'm not going. You can't make me. And I'm like, yes, I can. You can go, or you can, this will happen. You have this consequence. So we can't make me believe. I'm like, I'm not trying to make you believe. You just need to go.
Mm-hmm. Well, you're talking about the anger. It's not anger. It's frustration.
Okay.
He wouldn't be angry if you didn't make him. So what's coming out is frustration over you're making me do something I don't want to do, or you're making me not do something I want to do. So it's frustration. Right. Many parents will say that. He has an anger problem. No, he doesn't have an anger problem. He got a frustration problem. And the frustration problem is I don't like doing what I'm told and have to do.
Right.
I've got a book that might help you a lot more than what I just did. It's called Standing Strong. Good Discipline Makes Great Teens. Okay?
Standing
you can get
strong.
it through. Good Discipline Makes Great Teens. You can get it through the EWTN catalog, or you can go to my website if you want a signed copy, drray.com.
Okay.
There's a lot in there about all this stuff. All right, my dear. Thank you, Dina. Okay, bye. I'm watching that countdown there, Steve. That's a soft break, isn't it? Yeah, that's a soft break. All right. This is Dr. Ray Guarendi program. Doctor is in Monday through Friday, 1 o'clock Eastern Time, here in the belly. I didn't want to use bowels anymore. That's really that's kind of stinky language. In the belly of the cruise ship Oasis of the Seas. I took one of those. I didn't go on cruises when I was younger because I couldn't afford it. But then I got one. It was really, really cheap. It was a cruise. It was out of Omaha. It was great. So it didn't go very far. We didn't actually leave the dock.
When your children consider going to college, where are you going to find a place that will prepare them for the future and build on the foundation that you've laid? The answer? Ave Maria University. With an authentically Catholic curriculum, including 35 majors, AMU prepares students to take on the world.
I've seen the difference in my son since he's been at Ave Maria. He's happy. He's excited about what he's going to do with his degree. and he's living his faith.
Learn more at avemaria.edu. That's avemaria.edu.
What qualities are embodied in truth and goodness? The Catholic Catechism asserts that the practice of goodness is accompanied by the joy and splendor of spiritual beauty. Truth, says the Catechism, is beautiful in and of itself. Because man is endowed with an intellect, truth in the rational expression of the created and the uncreated reality is necessary. But when truth is beyond words, the depths of the human heart, the exaltation of the soul, the mystery of God, other forms of complementary human expression are needed. Before God revealed himself in words, he revealed himself in the universal language of creation, the order and harmony of the cosmos, which both child and scientist can discern. This is Peggy Stanton, and this has been the Order of Malta's Minute with the Catechism.
The wisdom of Mother Angelica.
I told him about the woman who came to me and said her two children hadn't spoken to each other for 2 years. Their grandma died, and she was very wealthy. She left half to each one. She said they're arguing over a commode. She said it's inlaid. Can you imagine being in hell and somebody saying to you, what are you here for?
EWTN. Live truth. Live Catholic.
Oh, that's fraudulent. That's fraudulent. This is Dr. Ray Guarendi. Thank you for joining me here on the Oasis of the Seas. This is where we are broadcasting from. This is just a warning, if you can send out an SOS, if you hear me start to send out a warning, an SOS. How do we deal with a self-centered, narcissistic personality of our adult child who has disdain for our religion, way of life, etc.? She's a self-proclaimed progressive. You know, I always use the word regressive because I think an awful lot of that progressive stuff is really regressive in terms of traditional wisdom. Well, a couple of things. Self-centered, narcissistic. The word narcissistic is horribly overused in our popular lingo. If you look at the definition of narcissistic personality disorder in the Diagnostic and Statistical Manual, it's quite a disturbing personality. Okay, these are folks who are not just difficult with certain people, they're difficult with everybody. And they are so self-absorbed, it's such an extreme that it colors almost all their relationships. Okay, so this is significant stuff. All too often when it's used popularly, it means self-centered or difficult, unpleasant. A lot of people like that in this world. Sometimes they're our own adult children. If you want to have any kind of relationship with them, you don't fight with them. You can't challenge them. You can't debate them. Because when I ask parents what happens when you do that, they say, oh, it's ugly every time. It doesn't. There's no resolution. It's not pleasant. And we start yelling. And then it's another chip off our wall of a relationship. I go, yeah, you're right. So if you want to have some decent kind of contact with them, realize you're probably not going to have a close relationship. First of all, you avoid challenging them. You avoid topic areas. You recognize you're not going to change how they think. You can only hope that life changes how they think. And I would assume here also, according to this question, says disdain for our religion. So I'm going to assume she pretty much has disdain for religion. Well, once you have that, there really is no reason to hang around with anybody you don't like. Even if it's your mom, so what? Fourth commandment, honor your father and mother. Yeah, well, I'm not religious, so I don't buy that fourth commandment. And unfortunately, that's where a lot of people are. That's where a lot of young adults are now. And it's interesting because this ties into Dina's call. You can already see that little 14-year-old boy pulling away from his family. And he's being shaped by other forces in our culture, and part of it is Dina's allowing it. You know, he's had access to that smartphone, and she didn't say how many years he's had it. But my guess would be it's probably 2 or 3. So in this case, when you got somebody difficult, you recognize they don't realize they're difficult. You have to decide how far you want to go just to have a pleasant relationship with them. Thank you for joining me. I'd like to say thank you to all of you, and I can do that. Thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you. Thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you. There, I thanked everybody. This is Dr. Ray Guarendi. Walk with God. Hold your kids tight.
For information on Dr. Ray's presentations, books, and CDs, visit drray.com and follow him on Facebook and Instagram. The Doctor Is In is a co-production of Ave Maria Radio and EWTN Radio and carried across the EWTN Global Catholic Radio Network.